Hello, welcome to the Facing the Gates podcast. I'm Bailey. I'm here with David and Michael.
Woo. What's up?
They don't know who you are, so you should
It's me. I'm David.
All right.
And I'm Michael. Hopefully you can differentiate between us.
Yeah, they sound different. They're twins, but they sound different. You know?
Yeah,
just a little bit different.
Yeah. So anyway, we're opening these first few episodes of the podcast with interviews with everyone, because when you think of the term Christian or atheist or agnostic, whatever that means, you have like a preconceived notion of what that is. So
maybe not.
Right. Maybe you don't know what that is. So the purpose of these episodes is so we can kind of develop the nuances in our beliefs and get you guys to know who we are. So in this episode, we're going to be interviewing David.
Yeah.
Who is the atheist.
Yeah. The filthy atheist.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, I've got here in the notes I have about you that it says you're a filthy, godless atheist.
And you're right.
So tell me, David, you are an atheist.
As stated.
What exactly does that word mean, and what does it mean to you?
Well, kind of.
So how would you define it, basically?
To keep it very short and simple, you don't believe in anything. I mean...
Anything like in a religious sense?
Yeah, in
like
a religious sense.
Okay.
Or even supernatural, paranormal, whatnot.
That's very dark and lonely.
Just gotta make the best of it.
You don't believe in anything. I don't believe that I exist.
And that's kind of just... What I said is both kind of what most people think atheists, but some people play around with the paranormal, the occult, and whatnot, and still consider themselves atheists. For me, it's just like cut and dry.
Yeah.
Like I'm interested in those things from kind of a hypothetical point of view, aesthetics and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But in my beliefs, that there is nothing at the end of the tunnel. It's just boop, gone. And
so when we die, we're just gone. We just poof.
Yeah.
That makes
well,
me
not necessarily poof.
Consciousness poofs.
Yeah. Your consciousness ends with your body.
Okay. So when I think of an atheist, I'm going to think of someone who is a naturalist, who believes in evolution and puts their faith in science. Someone who is...
For the most part, though, there are people that differ on like evolution and everything, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
But for me, yeah.
Yeah, so I would think someone who's like logical, rational, dogmatic, secular humanism sometimes comes to mind. So like these aren't all necessarily bad things, but their worldview doesn't contain religious belief. So some atheists are more antagonistic towards religion, and some are not.
Most of them.
Out of all of those things that are like the generalized stereotypes that I just listed off about atheism, how much do you think describe you, and how much do you think you differ from?
Hard to say, because like I guess in my point of view, since I don't have to deal with the consequences of the world after I die, I want to leave it a better place. So I guess you can put some humanists in there. Mm-hmm. Antagonistic, I think regardless of what your beliefs are, being antagonistic to each other is just kind of a dick move.
Right.
Because as I said, want to keep the world a better place, as you're taught with like campsites and stuff. If you go out in nature, leave it better than whence you came.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of a little motto, to put it simply. So I guess a lot of it's true, but also I really dislike any antagonism,
elitism, like
yes, and there's like, a lot.
What would you say about like people that think that like religion is dangerous and that people shouldn't believe in religion because it's wrong? Or,
that's more of an anti-deist beliefs, which I guess you can say is a subsect of atheism. But I mean, as Kant said, like, learn from your enemies, and because everything has a little bit of truth, so everybody has a little bit of truth in their beliefs, maybe a lot of truth, but the kind of belief that religion can be dangerous, yes. I mean, we know about cults for a reason,
right?
So they're not wrong, but they're not taking in the possible benefits of religion. And there are some.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time we see the negatives, but from a historical aspect, the sense of community and like living in the South, it's a social gathering.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So it's everyone has some truth, but in like the anti-deist point of mind, and even in like the extremes of either side, everything gets blown out of proportion.
All right. All right, so I think I'm going to let Michael ask you some questions because he's been sitting here listening carefully.
What are some things people think of when they think of the word atheist that you think don't necessarily fit you specifically?
Well, the kind of antagonistic anti-deist ideas is like the number one. Just because I don't want to be a dick.
Anything?
Other than
anything
that,
else?
just... I mean, I kind of have the look of a generic atheist. I listen to metal music and... Like, well...
I listen to metal music.
Well,
Yeah,
actually, most people think metal music is like... Yeah, I mean, they do think godless, but they think more
Metal is
the
satanic.
satanic panic of the
jeez.
90s.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We can have a whole episode on that.
Praise Satan.
Follow the left path. Or
But-
the left-hand path.
Oy vey, oy vey. But so,
right.
since we're on this topic, you want to tell us about your religious background, story of how you got to where you are now, and all that fun stuff transpiring in your young mind?
Well,
Yeah, like how did you grow up?
I mean, I guess you can say the most generic Southern Christian. I mean, for what I consider most Christians in the South do, like they'll go to vacation Bible school and stuff, but not really get anything from it. And like Awana's youth group, going to church some Sundays. And like, especially with grandparents, because went to like Methodist church with one grandparent. I forget the church with my great grandparents we went to.
That's
Baptist.
fine. Let's not
And then
name specific churches,
well,
but you can
just
name
like
denomination.
denomination.
Yeah.
And then like we went to Southern
Yeah,
Baptist.
a lot of people. Maybe fun fact: we all grew up together, and we
Yeehaw.
went to the same church for a while.
And me and him came out the same lady, so at the same time.
You and David did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not me
I-
and Bailey. I
didn't.
wish.
But yeah, so I guess like generic Christian, you could put
So
it.
you had like a Christian upbringing.
I mean, in some ways, yes, but like for example, our mom wasn't necessarily religious, and our dad played to that a little bit, but he's not really. But that's a story for another day about him.
Yeah.
So, were there any points in your life, any like happenings that you were like, okay, I'm an atheist?
Yeah.
This is just another thing to add to why I'm an atheist.
I guess like it never really hit all at once. It was just a gradual progression, just accepting my views of the world, like especially during that awful time of like middle school, high school. I mean, though I kind of just I had an idea like when we were like in elementary school age, but still went to church, and even through middle and high school went to like youth group and stuff. But as
Were you so when you went to church and stuff? Were you? Because I know, to be fair, a lot of the times when I went, and a lot of the people that I knew that went, it was kind of like a social event.
Like
it wasn't
youth
so
group
much you're
was
going
social,
for Jesus
and like
or
going
anything.
with grandparents is more of a cultural obligation.
Right. So was it like that for you, or were you going because you were curious, or like what?
Well, being raised around it kind of had a
Just an
average
expectation.
an average understanding and the expectation.
Right.
But that just kind of that. I guess the interest in it kind of died down, and kind of if you have a graph of my accepting me being an atheist and my interest in going to church, it kind of the accepting went up and the church went down kind of as I got older.
That's interesting.
Just because maturing and kind of getting to understand who I am and what I believe.
So,
Yeah.
is there a certain point you can add to on that graph of like where specifically your acceptance went up at the exact same as your, going to church went down? Is there a certain time frame?
Not
or
necessarily.
anything?
I mean, we stopped going like middle of high school.
Well, yeah,
But other than that, nothing really major. Nothing that's like, there is no God because this happened. It's just like,
Right. It was just a progression. It was like
a gradual progression of non-belief.
So
Which usually for most people is not how it happens. Most people are like, yeah, I've just never believed. And other people are just like, yeah, I saw this and I hated it. And then they became a anti-deist.
I don't know. I've heard different stories.
Or
it's so unique to everybody. That's the cool thing about anything.
So
anything religious has that unique factor because, like, yeah, some people grew culturally into it, but then they had that revelation. And I think it's more noticeable for people with religion because they have that revelation. Where, like, for me, it just never stuck.
You never had that revelation.
Yeah.
So
I just accepted the world as it is.
I know you've mentioned, like, in the past that you were like, you never believed. Is that would you say that you never really believed, or you just progressively came to disbelief, or like how would you describe that?
Again with the graph, I guess kind of like at the very top is like belief. And for me, I mean, being raised around it, you're not quite there at the top, but you're somewhere like, put it like 75%. And it's like, yeah, this and this, but
So you're just kind of believing it because people told you to.
Yeah, it wasn't
like the cultural
Yeah, it's just like learning anything. You just kind of accept things at that time as a little kid.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so I think you mentioned this earlier, but I guess for clarification, do you believe in the supernatural at all? Or do you believe that anything that exists is all in the natural world?
I think it all exists in the natural world, and I guess to like play on that a little bit, from kind of how I see like paranormal stuff, it wouldn't necessarily be a different world. It'll just possibly be like a different realm, and like,
so it's an extension of the natural world that we haven't discovered right yet.
Because I don't necessarily believe in it, but that's kind of how my interpretation of like reading about that and looking up ghost stories, because if it wasn't in the natural realm, how would we see it?
Yeah, that's interesting. So, like, you do believe in paranormal stuff, but you don't believe that it is like external to the natural world, basically.
Well, no, but because like I kind of see.
Or would you say you're like agnostic to paranormal?
Still very strictly no, because again, I haven't had really any major kind of sightings or anything. But from like what I can kind of see with most people, because, you know, most people, the paranormal stuff is like a dead family member that they know. I think it's just kind of a little bit the mind might play some tricks, because the mind plays lots of tricks on us.
Well, I asked this question specifically because, you know, Home Dog, your boy right here, was once upon a time a ghost hunter.
And you're very interested in the religious and the paranormal.
Yeah, well, I always grew up with a fascination with the paranormal.
They're very tied together in my eyes.
Okay.
See, that's very, very on point for today.
What do you mean?
The paranormal and the date.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Well,
spoopy.
Spoilers. We're recording this on Halloween. So I don't know when this is going out, but
we may cut that out. You never know.
Yeah, well, no, I'm probably not gonna edit this because I don't feel like it.
Here, let me lay a situation out regarding our next question.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
All right, you've lived a pretty good life, you know.
It's had its ups and downs. That's been all right.
In his hypothetical is what he's saying.
You know, you've lived your life like you wanted to. All that bullshit. You're laying there, and you know your time's coming to an end. You feel it.
You're on your deathbed. You feel the grips of
death.
Well,
it might not be a bed. It's
I was just making it more visual.
Yeah, but you're just laying there. You're thinking to yourself, I'm about to fucking die. This is it. It's been a good run. You know, I'm glad I've had my dog with me this whole time. I got a tortoise. Things are pretty cool. I don't have kids or a wife because, God, that sounds awful. What happens after that to you? In your personal view, when you close them eyes and take that last breath, what happens?
You take that last... Well, most times you're not even conscious for your last breath, but...
You know what I mean.
you're gone. You do not exist anymore. As you came in, you came out.
So do you believe like your whole energy stops, or your just consciousness stops?
Essentially, define what you think of as energy. Is it like a paranormal kind of spiritual energy?
Well, our body's made up of electricity.
Well, yeah.
Things are always moving. Matter cannot be created.
Well,
Perpetual motion and all that shit.
that falls into you're put into the ground and the worms eat you so you can grow a tree or something beautiful like that.
This actually leads me to a related question that I wanted to ask you, because under the naturalist view, we don't have souls, and everything that happens is basically from the brain. So would you say that our conscious experience is just a result of stuff happening in our brain?
Yeah. I mean, because, like, I don't necessarily believe the either concept of we have full free will and we have no free will, because we're creatures of habit. So we're going to do things that we are habitually trained to do, just like any other creature.
Well, that's interesting, because we're going to have an episode on free will very soon here.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's like, I guess since what we're living is such a profound, interesting experience that nothing ever can quantify in existence. Yeah, it's just truly fascinating.
And one little quick side question. When you think of death, do you accept it? Are you scared of it? Or are you excited for it?
It's going to happen. I mean, I don't need to, like, worry about it nor be like, I'm going to die.
Do you
So
think
you're not, like, thinking about it
No.
actively?
Do you-
Because, I mean, obviously you're young. You're not going to
Yeah.
think about it. But, like,
Well, I mean, I've had to
do
have
you think
those-
about it, like, sometimes?
I mean, at certain points in my life, I've had to face the fact, yeah, I'm going to die. But it's just like, just accept it, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Do you feel that might change as you get older and you may get health problems, or you may lose more people close to you? Do you feel that could change, or do you think you're going to try to keep that level-headedness throughout?
It's possible, because anything, when you bring emotions and like family members or people important to you, the results are always drastic. So it could change very much, but I would prefer to try to keep that level head, just accepting of it and move on with my life and figure out what I can do the best with it.
I respect that. So,
All right, yeah, I'll let you ask this next question.
what gives you meaning in life?
Yeah,
because
David,
we
what
all-
gives you meaning in life?
We all
It's a
have
simple
what gives
question.
us meaning. But since you don't have a higher power to reach out to find that meaning, what gives you, David, meaning?
Or as like a paraphrased version of that, what are your goals in life? What do you want to achieve? That may be a related question. It might be something separate, but
It's
same
pretty
kind of thing.
similar.
I
in my
guess
eyes.
kind of in my frame of mind, the idea of what gives you meaning is more like what makes your little brain chemicals go, yeah, you did something. So, I mean, just the generic stuff that we work for in life, the longer goals that have that delayed major satisfaction when it's finished, like working on music, working on art, getting a good job, having a house, maybe having a significant other, that kind of long delayed satisfaction, but that delayed satisfaction is much more profound than that instant gratification.
Yeah.
So kind of whatever makes your brain feel good, as long as it's not hurting anybody. And as I said, I'm leaving the world a better place than once I came.
God, I can't tell if you're like an antidepressant shill or like an anti-antidepressant shill with that answer.
Well,
Chaotic neutral.
I mean, my beliefs on like the pharmaceuticals, it's a little bit yes and a little bit no.
What do you mean?
Well, essentially, yeah. Some people need antidepressants, but I also believe that we need to have a more rigorous therapy and mental health. Because, like, for example, in France with ADHD, instead of giving you an Adderall, first they're going to try to put you on an exercise regimen. They're going to try to do something.
Damn, so they're going to call me fat because I can't focus.
Well, no, because it helps release dopamine and kind of calms the mind and body down.
Yeah, it's more of a natural way of dealing with it.
And it's a healthier way than
medication.
just feeding you amphetamines.
Yeah.
And less addictive.
You're gonna love this next question. I hope you know that. And Bailey's gonna love it just
I
as
gotta
much.
ask you, you know. David,
Yeah.
tell me about your satanic necklace.
Well,
Because you're an atheist. You're not supposed to be religious, but you got a satanic necklace. What on earth? What does that mean? Tell the world.
I guess being a filthy atheist and also being at one point interested in the occult, everyone learned about Anton Lavey and his idea of I'm a bastard, lies and butcher this, but Leviathan Satanism, and it's not theistic Satanism, but it is more of a lifestyle. And I mean, and if you read the commandments on there, you would agree with at least 99% of them. And
I don't know if this is the same thing that I've heard of, but I have heard from someone, I can't verify because I haven't looked it up.
Yeah,
but I've heard that basically the satanic 10 commandments, there's 11. It's the same 10 commandments as the Judeo-Christian 10 commandments, but there's another one that says if someone does something to you, then do whatever it takes to get revenge.
Yeah, and I mean,
I don't remember. I don't know if that's the same thing that you were talking about, or if that's something
kind of an eye for an eye type deal.
basically.
Yeah, and I mean, in some aspects, I could see that, but yeah.
And to be fair,
I mean,
let me not publicize that as like that's legit. I just heard that, so I don't know.
Read it, and I do recommend you reading them to get kind of a idea about it. But and the funny thing, this isn't even necessarily a satanic cross. It's just a symbol that they used because there's no true satanic cross. Because I mean, Satan didn't die on a crucifix.
Yeah,
Not
so
yet.
Like they just
Not yet. That
Jesus
comes after
2.0.
Revelations.
Well, yeah, I think that's like Satanists just flipped the Star of David just to mock them, and that's the pentagram. And the same thing with the upside down cross.
Well,
It's just a mockery.
The 5-point star has multiple religious and cultural kind of identities. But it's quite possible. I mean, there are a bunch of edgelords.
Yeah.
But like this one is, I forget, maybe Greek
what is it
sign.
called for
It's
people who want
sign
it?
of sulfur.
Yeah, it's the sign, essentially a sign of sulfur. But
Which
if
kinda
you look
fits
online,
hell.
you can
Have you
see
ever
the
smelled
satanic
sulfur?
cross. And no, it is not the upside down cross. That is a sign of humility.
Tell me
But
about
yeah,
it.
it's like a.
We'll
I mean,
get into that.
I used to be interested in the, like, before like accepting I was atheist, was interested more so in the occult and also being a fucking edgelord.
Okay, so why did you
And,
go to
like,
the occult? What led you to that?
Just kind of interest in different perspectives, like the modern Hermeticism movement and stuff of like the 1900s.
For people
Well,
who don't know what that
1800s,
is, what would that
1900s.
be?
Think of like,
Because
well,
I don't know what it is.
honestly, it's been so long, I've kind of lost it. But think of like your generic like occult witchcraft stuff, like
Freemasons.
and like not necessarily Freemasons. They're filthy deists.
I'm saying it to be an edgelord.
But yeah, I mean, you can also think of them in that way. But just like the Wiccan movements and I guess Shout Ghostmane, the following of the Lima being a Dalamite. And I mean, Levi and I forget their names, but they're like very well known in the modern occult movement, like worship of Saturn.
And also
stuff.
shout out Raider Gang in the SoundCloud rap scene.
But yeah, and I don't know what necessarily drew it for me, but I was interested in seeing different perspectives and more outsider approaches to kind of beliefs.
Yeah.
That's dope.
So I
Never
guess
practiced, but I and still today I'll find some new like movement and research it and see if there's anything positive I could take from it to fit
Okay.
into my lifestyle.
Gotcha. So for clarification, for people at home, you don't actually believe in Satan and worship the devil,
No,
all that jazz.
I
You're just wearing it because it's edgy.
Well, also, I guess in one way, yes, but also it was something I was interested in. And I just love being like, well, being that shit heel that's like Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a satanic cross, even though we believe it to be, and also it's
So you like pissing off theists.
and it's an
Pretty much.
and it's more of a atheist lifestyle symbol than.
Yeah.
Though there is an atheist symbol, and it's stupid because
I've seen it. It looks so dumb. It's like a at
let me
symbol.
speak
so dumb.
my mind here.
Go ahead.
Yes, I understand the cultural aspects of being a group, but atheism is about the lack of religion. Don't make it into a religion.
Okay, so this is a completely different topic, and it may be a rabbit trail. But what do you think? Have you heard about the atheist churches? What do you think about that?
Like, I thought people didn't believe in religion, and a church is a religious.
Okay, but that's the thing.
the
is
lack
that
of religion
it's the
is not-
cultural aspect of it.
It's the
without the it's the community. kind of
The
thing.
name's stupid. I understand the meaning behind it.
I think it's dumb too. To be fair,
But
I found it interesting
I
that they
guess
exist.
To be the
I
devil's
guess it's
advocate.
more so
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
a support
Try tapping
group.
above to edit.
Stop.
It's more of like being a support group, and if they're like, yeah, we're just a group of atheists, like, cool,
I mean, we all.
go do some work outside and like do some charity work or something.
I mean, to be the devil's advocate here, churches are literally a community where you usually have one thing in common. That's
Yeah.
Jesus,
Well, just like any
or
other
that's Allah, or
group.
and that's any group. So why not just put it blatantly? Hey, we're all here together because we're atheists. I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
that.
I just find the
Yeah.
uses of church as
Yeah.
quite silly.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
But
I agree.
I
get-
do understand that most people come from some sort of religious background.
Yeah.
So church is kind of like a catch-all term.
Right. That's fair. All right, so I'm gonna pull. We had a conversation about this a while back, but I'm gonna pull the Pascal's wager on you. So for people who don't know what Pascal's wager is, it's basically a smart guy back in the day who was like, if Christianity or any religion for that matter is true, believing in it is probably a safe bet. Whereas if it's not true and you believe in something like atheism, you have a lot on the line there. So I guess, would it not be riskier? Is it not riskier to choose not to believe in God and be wrong than to choose to believe in God and be wrong? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, I guess in one way, yes, but
Yeah.
in another way, unless like that religion is verifiably correct in all aspects in this scenario, then picking any other religion is equally as wrong depending on how strict the God is. So and it's also about conviction, your revelation, and I mean, even in that world, there will be atheists.
Yeah.
Would they be wrong? Oh, yes, definitely. But I can kind of accept that if I'm wrong about my worldview, so be it.
Mm-hmm.
But
if you're wrong, if
go to
I'm
hell.
right,
You
the
go to
Christian boy,
hell.
you go to hell forever.
but if the Hindu is right, we're all going to hell.
But do Hindus believe in hell? All right then.
I
I think they just believe in reincarnation, don't they? They're just like,
Yeah, so you
then-
come back as like a fucking worm or some
Yeah,
bullshit.
yeah.
well, gee, that sucks. I guess I'll have to start all over.
I might be wrong, but I think
It's like dying in an old video
if you
game. You just have to
fail
start the
so
game
many
over.
times, there's kind of a level of hell. Like you can reach enlightenment, you can reach the bottom of the pits, and
Okay.
you can just be stuck there
Well,
unless you do right.
Maybe we have a Hindu listener that can inform us.
Or
'cause
that would like to join for an episode.
Yeah, we don't want to give blanket statements on things we
Yeah.
don't know. So we're going to
So-
clarify when we don't know things.
Yeah,
And that's one of the things we don't know.
I'm pretty sure I'm wrong, but I think like at least a teacher explained it that way to me, so it's probably definitely wrong.
I should know. I did a comparative religion course in college. I just don't remember that specific, like if
It's one of
hell
the
is a
few popular polytheistic religions left. So it's, to us, we all come from a monotheistic background.
So-
Well, it's also Eastern. It's a very Eastern religion.
yeah.
Yeah. But at one point, I had a stronger understanding of those than I did with Judaism and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of flipped as times have came through. I used to love studying polytheistics, but that's beside the point. We'll hit that later.
Yeah. So I got one other question for you, and then I'm gonna let Michael wrap it up. So
No, there's two.
is there two?
Yeah, there's the wrap up, the objection.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Do you want me to hit that question, or do you?
I got the question. This is terrible. This is weird. Very professional. So, David,
Yes.
you're wrong.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I don't know if you're wrong, but let's say
I might be.
Okay. I think we can all agree that we might be wrong. We're all like, we might be
We're all
wrong.
human.
Anyway,
We're inherently flawed.
what could convince you that you were wrong and that Christianity were true? What is there anything specific that would convince you?
Essentially, I would have to have like an angel come down and just be like, David, you've had a few good running years, but you're wrong. And this religion's the right one. It would have to be a major revelation, a major kind of spiritual awakening.
See,
in that aspect.
I'm not trying to invalidate that, but at least if it were me and I had that, I'd be like, am I fucking crazy? Like, did this actually just happen?
I'd have to call everyone, make sure I didn't just go to a drug dealer and get some good shit.
You would probably go for like some psychiatric help if that happened.
But
like,
would
that actually
I will
convince
say,
you, because you might question your own sanity at that point.
I will say that's actually not an uncommon thing that happens to people.
Oh, really?
Like, or
I haven't heard of it.
Or
but...
they'll fucking die and be like, I was at the gates of fucking hell. To me, that's on the same.
Near-death experiences are different.
Or like
we're going to do an episode on that later, eventually.
But to me,
in fact, so
that's almost on the same, because to be touched.
I think what he's talking about is like a revelation, like in a dream or something.
Or say like the guy that,
or a vision.
The book that you read about the dude going and essentially visiting hell.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was that profound, I would have to change my worldview quite a lot.
Yeah. Well,
but it could just be something.
You're just chilling on the couch eating some Cheetos, and Angel comes up. What's up, bitch? You're wrong.
I was just being that drastic, kind of to state the point. But it could be something more nuanced and light. But it would still have to be something that pushes that threshold of like, I need to change my views.
Yeah. Well,
I don't necessarily know what, because who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had like obviously several doubts, like within the past like probably 5 years or so, and I went through like I guess the popular term is a deconstruction and reconstruction period, where I kind of like, I guess, learned more about what I believed and why I believed it.
It's like changing moving all your furniture in your bedroom. You might take some stuff out. You might add some stuff there. You still kind of have that grasp of it, but you want to make sure it's right for you.
Yeah, sure. I've recently done that.
But basically, over the next several episodes, we're going to kind of get into that, and it'll be more discussion oriented, but I'm definitely going to bring out like the things that kind of changed my mind and opened my perspective to things. And I mean, maybe it'll help for you, maybe it won't, but at the very least, we'll understand each other more.
I might become a good Christian boy.
Maybe you will.
I doubt.
Maybe.
You fucking filthy atheist.
All right, well, you can go ahead and do the wrap-up question. I'll let Michael do the pressing hard final statement.
Well, I'm going to do a part of it in my own way, and I'll let you carry from where I leave off.
Okay, all right.
But I think both of our main objection with atheism is, to us, it seems kind of pointless, because we feel that presence, we feel something. It's not just... In my book, there's evolution, everything happens for a reason, all that shit, and chain reactions, but without something greater being there, it seems pointless to me. And I mean, it just seems like there's got to be something. Would you like to continue that, Bailey?
Yeah. I'm gonna grill you. I'm gonna drill you. I'm gonna grill you, boy. All right. So, like he said, it's pointless. To use a term from Ecclesiastes, everything is but a vapor. No matter what, we're all gonna die. Eventually, no one's gonna remember you. We're gonna, the world's gonna blow up in the heat death of the universe. There's no point in existence but living your best life, and nothing after that. There's no hope. So I feel like that's kind of an untenable and unsatisfying existential view of life. And when it's played out over an entire lifetime, it's going to lead to nihilism and a certain cynicism about your own existence, not to mention the existential toll it takes on your mental health. So, how would you defend your worldview against these criticisms,
I
David?
guess to put in an existentialist point of view, from the very little I understand about it, major thing is like that kind of existential noticing of stuff. Like, think of a table. Mm-hmm. That table was once a tree, which was once just a seed, which grew from another tree, and so on and so forth. There's a beauty in just everything. And I guess, as you said, yeah, not your life is just your life, but that's kind of the beauty of it. Your life will both be an impact, but in the end, yeah, heat death of the universe and stuff. Mm-hmm. I guess for the foreseeable future, until the heat death, my life might have a minor impact on even a small group of people. Or I could change the world. Does it affect me? Not necessarily. The greatest impacts are usually after people die.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the beauty of it, is as I said, it's such a unique experience to be a part of the current time, the current world, the technologies, the cultures, and just kind of accepting, it's only here for a short time, but make the best of it.
Yeah, and I wouldn't disagree with most of that, but I just feel like...
Though I do see how, look at the anti-deists. There's a very cynical, nihilistic point of view.
Yeah.
And I guess they're not wrong, but I kind of view that more so as an emotional response than kind of just thinking...
A logical, rational...
balanced response. So just accepting it. Yeah. Sometimes I think, the world's meaningless. Everything, nothing is here forever. Why? Yeah, but that's just depression speaking.
Look at David, the filthy, cool, calm, collective, calculated atheist.
I guess sometimes I can be. I can just be as emotional as anyone else.
Yeah.
But,
usually you're not.
Why stress myself over, being a filthy nihilist, cynic, anti-deist?
God, he makes atheism sound kind of okay.
Damn it. You're not supposed to do that.
I guess, in my perspective, seeing, the mono world, there's a lot more people that, if they didn't think atheist was just, they put anti-deists together. Mm-hmm. Even a lot of people going to churches are more so identifiable by atheism, as they don't have that strict following of beliefs. They just go for convention's sake.
I see that.
Yeah, I can see that.
It might not be a major majority of religious people, quote unquote religious people, but it's definitely there.
So you'd say that's kind of like a Jewish person who's Jewish by culture, not by religion.
Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I get what you're putting down. Smells pretty good.
People that we went to youth group with, a lot of us did it for a social aspect.
Right.
Sure, some people grew and developed their religious beliefs, but a lot of people just go for church for convention's sake and cultural sake.
Yeah.
To save face.
Yeah. I get that. And I don't know, sometimes, maybe this is just me, but I'm already 22. I've lived probably, at best, a quarter of my life already.
And shit,
I feel like I've lived half my goddamn life at this point.
Maybe more.
Who knows?
But
it'll be 120.
Might be all my life. I might just die tonight. You never know.
Exactly.
It's a very dark way of fucking looking at it. I'm sorry, guys.
But the thing is, for me, I'm just for me, being a Christian, I can be this world sucks, but at least I have something to hope for. At least I have something to look forward to, and not think when I'm done, I'm done. I feel like that would really bother me with as much garbage is in this world that you experience on a daily basis. I feel like that would really drag me down if I were an atheist.
I just gotta worry about everything.
But in other ways, you just gotta think about it and see and think, even though from example, myself, I don't have a big voice with a lot of people, but the people I do have a voice with, I can voice that and change how I do things or my approaches to things to be to lead at least maybe even just one person to a better life and a better viewpoint to live a happier, healthier life. Mm-hmm. I mean, like,
Happy,
for example,
healthy, horny.
I mean, a guy I work with, he messes up at work a lot, and like,
Poor guy.
my general manager thinks of like yelling and fussing about it. Mm-hmm. Where like when he messes up or I know something's wrong, I'll just speak to him about it, and we'll have a cool, calm conversation. And
Well, it's because you're David. You're not a angry, yelly person.
hopefully I can help change how he works, but also I'm like, yeah, I understand. You make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And kind of stuff like that. Just not being a dick.
Yeah. All right.
That's a major problem. People just love to be dicks and self-centered.
Yeah.
Think about your community just as much as yourself, and do not let either one deprecate it.
I think you're a very reasonable atheist. I think most people they're either gonna love you or hate you, and we'll find out when this comes out.
And that's okay.
Yeah. Is there anything else that we haven't asked that you want to put on table? You want to let your nuts hang?
Yeah, like to let people know, like, you know, obviously these are our introductory episodes. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want people to know about you before we go into other episodes?
Yeah, you atheist.
Not necessarily. I mean, we've pointed pretty much every kind of simple basis.
So you weren't born with a vagina.
The beautiful thing about being an atheist is you can also just not... You can kind of have the agnostic idea. Like, I just don't know about some things, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But also try to learn from them. Try to learn things and learn different viewpoints. Because, like, my major thing is, yeah, I have my viewpoint, but I want to learn about other people's viewpoints and see kind of how the mind works. Mm-hmm. Because to me, it's all in the mind. It's all just chemical reactions happening with receptors in your brain. And see what makes people tick. And also...
That makes friendship seem very fucked up.
Well, I disagree on that.
In an existentialist
we'll get into that later,
in that existentialist kind of viewpoint, there's a beauty to that. Because everything that happens in our body...
Is there?
It starts somewhere.
I feel like I feel like that deprives the beauty out of it. If it's
I don't know. To me,
purely
there's
naturalist.
a beauty in the mechanism of it. It's like watching a machine work.
Okay, I'm not going to open that can of worms.
Because,
we're
like,
going to have whole conversations on this, so I'm not going to go there.
Look at a car. Think of a car. Think of how that motor runs.
I know exactly how all that shit runs.
Yeah, but think of all the... Or like in a watch, all the tiny little mechanisms going to work, giving you a beautiful result. And I guess, and one thing, see the beauty in all the small things.
God, he makes us sound like a bunch of fucking assholes.
I could go in a million different ways with this, but we're gonna have basically entire episodes on, you know, origins of life and stuff like that. So we're gonna I'm gonna hold off.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, we'll get into that later.
Because to me,
but like the thing I like about you is that you're not like the militant atheist type, where you're not like okay, so for example, I went to school. Don't say the name, but you guys know who I'm talking about.
Of them, but.
Well, I went to school in elementary school, and I mentioned the fact that I was a Christian to somebody, and he's like, "Well, I'm an atheist, and my parents were atheists, and you're only Christian because your parents were Christian, and blah blah blah, and you're only Christian because you're in this part of the world where." I was like, slow your roll.
Can I add one more thing? And my dad played Diablo 2 with Obama.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I mean, he's not necessarily wrong at that point.
But he's just a fucking asshole.
But that's being a dick.
I could refute literally everything he said at this point, but we're not. Yeah. Again, we're not getting into that. Yeah. But what I'm trying to compliment you. All right. Yeah. What I'm saying is, you're not that guy. You're not the kind of guy that's like an anti-deist, like, you know, or an anti-theist. You know, you're a very passive, like, okay, you can believe that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
Being a dick.
Yeah.
That's my number one commandment. Do not be a dick.
Yeah, and if
Davidisms.
The second one is leave it a better place than once you came.
Yeah, and if you were,
and learn from history.
If you were a dick, we probably wouldn't be friends with you. Probably wouldn't be doing this podcast right now. So,
or maybe we would. Who fucking knows?
Yeah, maybe it would be just more interesting, to be honest. Maybe you should be more of a dick. No, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, I know.
I come naturally.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna end it now. I think we're gonna end up this podcast. So, thank you guys for listening to this episode.
Hope it was chill and relaxing.
Yeah, if you want to get in contact with us, we have contact information in the show description. I actually haven't made it in real life yet, so I don't know what it is, but it's there in the description, so go check it out. We can also put
our Twitters, and you can look at my Edgelord Instagram account.
Yeah, you can check us out on social media and get in contact if you have any comments or questions for us. Hit us up there. You can
send hate mail my way, I don't care.
But yeah, and definitely, if you liked it, review the podcast, because give us like a 4 or 5 star rating, maybe.
Share it with your friends.
That'll help us grow.
Post it on 4chan, post it on Reddit, whatever.
I don't know, just give us whatever you feel like, man. If we're 1 star, tell us we're fucking 1 star.
No, because then it'll hide the podcast and then we'll never be found for sure.
Oh no, but
so only 4 or 5
you
stars.
know how I find out about albums nowadays? It's not the fucking good ones, it's the shitty ones.
Yeah.
So why would you listen to it?
It's that
because
intrigue.
You want to listen to shitty music?
Well, no, it's that intrigue about it.
Yeah, I gotta see
why is it so bad.
So just be honest with us. Like, we'll be honest with you. That's all we care about in this world.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Anyway,
do we want to tag any of our current social media?
Stop wheezing. Sorry if you hear that. That's David's dog wheezing in the background.
Yeah, she's wheezing.
No, I'll just have it in the show description. So,
all right.
Anyway, yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, David, for answering all of our very prodding questions.
Always a pleasure.
You filthy atheist.
Yeah, you filthy, godless, atheist, hopeless man.
Filthy as they come.
The cuck of the family.
All right, well, that's the end.
Yeehaw.
Goodbye. Thanks for listening.
Love you.